The 12 disciples of Jesus Christ were not just followers. They were men who faced unimaginable challenges, leaving behind everything they knew to spread a transformative message. But what really happened to them? History often omits the dark, heroic, and even shocking details of their journeys and deaths. While many see them as unattainable saints, they were, in fact, humans like you and me with fears, doubts, and tough choices. And here arises an intriguing question. Why would someone choose to die so brutally for what they believe in? The answer lies in the impact they knew they could have, something that still resonates today. Prepare to dive into a narrative that not only reveals the tragic and heroic ways these apostles met their ends, but also inspires deep reflections on faith, courage, and purpose. After all, what are we willing to sacrifice for what truly matters? Let's find out together. The apostles, ordinary men from different backgrounds, were called to something extraordinary, to abandon everything for a greater mission. Imagine the weight of leaving behind your family, job, and even roots to follow Jesus. It was like leaving a safe harbor to sail into uncharted waters. They faced challenges that most would avoid, but this choice brings a lesson. Sometimes, you have to let go of comfort to embrace something greater. Want an example? Think of someone who leaves a stable job to pursue their passion, even without guarantees. And what about the persecutions? The apostles faced accusations, imprisonment, and even torture, all for spreading Jesus' message. It's not hard to draw parallels to our reality. How often do we avoid standing up for what we believe in out of fear of criticism or rejection? Drawing inspiration from these men means understanding that courage is not the absence of fear but acting despite it. For those seeking courage, here's a tip. Read stories of resilient leaders, like Nelson Mandela's autobiography. As they spread across the world, they carried a message of love and hope, proving that sacrifice is worth it. Every step they took was like planting seeds in unknown soil, sometimes fertile, sometimes barren. And here comes the question. What are you willing to sacrifice to live your purpose? Speaking of sacrifice, Peter's story and his ultimate surrender is an example that leaves us intrigued. Let's explore it in the next section. The apostles' martyrdom was not just a consequence of their faith, but also an extreme demonstration of commitment. They knew the risks of proclaiming Christ's message, especially during intense religious persecution. Peter, Andrew, and others accepted the brutality of their deaths as part of their mission. This makes us reflect. Are we prepared to stand for our beliefs, even when the cost is high? Although our martyrdom today is symbolic, like facing criticism or social pressure, the essence is the same, persisting in what we believe. Imagine the scene. A small group of men preaching in hostile territories under constant threat. Many were imprisoned, flogged, and killed in atrocious ways. Peter was crucified, James beheaded. Others were stoned or burned alive. These stories carry a symbolic weight that echoes to this day. Think of people facing modern oppression like Malala Yousafzai, who risked her life to defend the right to education. This reminds us that while the setting changes, the fight for justice and ideals never disappears. Each of these apostles was a living testimony of resistance and resilience. Their deaths did not silence the message. On the contrary, they solidified its impact. It's fascinating to think about how these lives became beacons for so many others over the centuries. Speaking of beacons, no one embodied this leadership more uniquely than Peter, who even in his death made a special request. Let's discover more in the next section. Peter, considered the leader of the apostles, played a role that went beyond preaching. He was a pillar of strength and spiritual guidance for many. After Jesus' death, he took on the responsibility of continuing to spread the gospel message. Peter knew his mission was immense, but also understood that great power came with great sacrifice. When he was finally captured and sentenced to crucifixion in Rome, his request was as surprising as it was revealing. He chose to be crucified upside down because he felt unworthy of dying in the same manner as his master. This attitude is a rare example of profound humility. Imagine the scene. Rome, a center of power and oppression, where Christians were hunted as criminals. Even in this context, Peter kept his faith unshaken. Asking to die differently was more than a symbolic gesture. It was a testimony of devotion and recognition of Christ's greatness. And here's a practical lesson. How can we honor those who inspire us? We don't have to wait for grand gestures. Simple acts of respect and gratitude, like helping someone or volunteering for a cause, also reflect this essence. Peter's martyrdom continues to resonate today, inspiring millions of believers to maintain their faith even in the face of adversity. His story also challenges us to reevaluate how we view our own struggles. Do we face our difficulties with the same resilience? Speaking of resilience, the life and death of Andrew, his brother and partner in mission, are equally fascinating and hold more lessons for us. Let's dive into that. Andrew, Peter's brother, was one of the first to recognize Jesus as the Messiah, even before becoming an apostle. He was a disciple of John the Baptist and introduced Peter to Jesus, a simple act with immense consequences. This initial connection shows the power of small actions. Think about it. How often can a word or recommendation from us change someone's life? Andrew teaches us that even the humblest gestures can have a profound impact. Why not start today? Maybe by recommending an inspiring book or helping someone find an opportunity. Beyond being a connector of people, Andrew played a vital role in the early church. He was present at pivotal moments, like the multiplication of the loaves and fishes, demonstrating that even limited resources can be enough when placed in the right hands. This lesson is powerful. It reminds us to value what we have instead of focusing on what we lack and to act with confidence. This can apply even to personal projects. Take advantage of what you already have to start something meaningful. Andrew's martyrdom was brutal but full of symbolism. While preaching in Greece, he was crucified on an X-shaped cross, a figure that became iconic in Christian history. Today, the St. Andrew's Cross reflects his unwavering devotion. It serves as a reminder that our actions can continue to resonate long after we're gone. Speaking of legacies, no one carried theirs as enduringly as John, the apostle who lived longer than all the others. Let's explore his story. John, the youngest of the apostles, also lived the longest, offering a unique perspective on faith and perseverance. While many of his companions met brutal deaths, John survived persecutions and tortures, including being thrown into boiling oil without harm. It's incredible to imagine how he overcame such trials, not just physically but spiritually. His resilience teaches us that even when everything seems against us, inner strength and faith can guide us through unimaginable paths. During his exile on the island of Patmos, John had a transformative experience that led to the writing of the Book of Revelation. His vision is a testament that even in moments of isolation, it's possible to create something powerful. In times of loneliness, for example, you can reflect and create, writing a journal, drawing, or starting a forgotten project. John shows us that our circumstances do not limit our ability to leave a legacy. Despite his longevity, John experienced the pain of losing his companions. He witnessed the martyrdom of James, Peter, Andrew, and many others, yet his mission remained clear. Living longer brought him the responsibility of keeping Christ's message alive. This raises the question, are we ready to carry the weight of a legacy? Speaking of legacies, other apostles like James and Jude Thaddeus also left their marks through their actions and deaths. Let's delve into their stories. James, John's brother, was the first apostle to be martyred, executed by the sword under Herod's orders. His courage in accepting his fate without hesitation invites us to reflect on what we truly stand for in our lives. While we may not face a sword, we encounter daily choices that test our values. Why not start by identifying your priorities and living in alignment with them? Jude Thaddeus, known for his devotion, traveled extensively to spread the gospel, facing countless dangers. He was lynched and martyred, yet his determination to fulfill his mission until the end is inspiring. Think about the moments when challenges in work or personal life make giving up seem easier. Jude shows us that persistence is the key, even in the face of adversity. To apply this, consider a goal you've been avoiding because it seems difficult, and take one small step today. Thomas, often remembered for his doubt, became a figure of deep faith after touching Christ's wounds. His sincerity and doubts made him relatable, someone we can identify with. He was martyred while evangelizing in India, a testament to his commitment. Thomas teaches us that doubts, when faced, can lead to a stronger faith. Speaking of commitments, the global expansion of Christianity by the apostles is a lesson in perseverance and impact. Let's explore that. The apostles did not limit themselves to Israel's borders. They took Christianity to the farthest corners of the known world. Peter went to Rome, Thomas reached India, and Paul, though not one of the original 12, expanded the message to Asia Minor and Greece. This demonstrates how faith and conviction can transcend cultural and geographical barriers. Imagine using modern tools like the internet to spread a message today. Like them, we can use our resources to impact lives. Why not start by sharing something inspiring with your friends? The apostles' global journey was marked by challenges. They faced unknown languages, different cultures, and often hostility. Andrew, for instance, preached in Greece and encountered resistance, but he did not give up. This teaches us that the first step is always the hardest, but persistence brings results. Want to try something new, like learning a language or starting a project? Be inspired by them and push forward, even when the path seems difficult. As they spread the gospel, the apostles laid the foundation of Christianity, which continues to influence billions of people today. This global legacy makes us wonder, what seeds are we planting? Are our actions capable of reaching and impacting future generations? On the other hand, not all apostles followed the same path. Judas Iscariot, for example, made choices that changed everything. Let's explore his story. Judas Iscariot, the name synonymous with betrayal, evokes both curiosity and reflection. He walked alongside Jesus, witnessed miracles, and heard teachings, yet he chose a path of deception. He betrayed his master for 30 pieces of silver, a sum that was not substantial even at the time. This makes us reflect on how impulsive decisions can lead to irreversible consequences. How often do we compromise greater values for seemingly small gains? Overcome with remorse after realizing the impact of his betrayal, Judas tried to return the money and sought redemption but couldn't forgive himself. His tragic end, taking his own life, serves as a reminder of how repentance without forgiveness can consume someone. However, his story also teaches us the importance of seeking help and not carrying burdens alone. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, reach out to a trusted person or professional to share the load. Judas' story is a warning about how our choices define our legacy. While the other apostles left marks of faith, courage, and perseverance, Judas remains a symbol of failure. Yet even his act of betrayal became part of a greater plan, paving the way for Jesus' sacrifice. This brings us to the final reflection. How are we writing our own stories? Now that you know the stories of courage, sacrifice, and even betrayal that marked the lives of the apostles, the question remains, what are you doing today that truly matters? These narratives are not just historical lessons. They are invitations to reflect on our own lives. Are we living with purpose or merely surviving? Think about it. What can you change today to leave a positive impact on the world? If these stories inspired you, why not start applying them? It could be through a small act of generosity, helping someone in need, or dedicating more effort to your spiritual growth. Big changes begin with small steps. And remember, you don't have to face the world alone. Find a community, a mentor, or friends to share your journey with. Finally, I have a special invitation for you. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you'll continue to find stories that not only inform but transform. Let's learn, grow, and live with greater purpose together. How about taking that next step now?